Imagine spending 5 years building a life with someone, celebrating promotions, planning vacations, even dreaming about a future together, only to hear them say, "I'm not attracted to you anymore. I need an alpha." That's what my girlfriend told me one evening, out of nowhere, with a coldness I never thought she was capable of. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just nodded and said, "I understand." But what she didn't know was that life had other plans. At the time, we both worked for the same company. I was quiet, focused, more behind the scenes. Meanwhile, she had her eyes on someone else, one of our coworkers. The guy she left me for. Loud. Flashy. The type who talks big but rarely delivers. She called him an alpha. She believed he was going places. What she didn't know was that I had just been offered a promotion, one she hoped this new guy would get. A promotion I hadn't told anyone about, not even her. So I kept quiet. I watched them flaunt their new relationship around the office, acting like I didn't exist. And then came Monday. She walked in all smiles, hanging off his arm, until she saw me, sitting in the corner office, the company's newest department head, and her new boss. Her face dropped. Her voice cracked. And for the first time in years, she was the one left speechless. That was just the beginning. Because while she thought she had leveled up, she was about to realize exactly what she gave up, and who she underestimated. Her eyes locked with mine, wide with disbelief, as if her brain was still trying to process what she was seeing. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. The nameplate on the office door said enough, my name, bold and clear, right beneath the title she once dreamed her new boyfriend would earn. To everyone else in the office, it was just another Monday. But for her, everything shifted. She had no idea I'd been quietly climbing the ladder, staying late, working weekends, turning down offers from other companies because I believed in the vision here. She never noticed. Or maybe she stopped caring long ago. Either way, while she was busy chasing what she thought was better, I was building a future she didn't think I was capable of. Her alpha boyfriend, Nick, stood next to her, clueless. He looked from me to her, confused, clearly out of the loop. He had been boasting just last week at lunch about being next in line. It was almost funny. He thought charm and big talk were enough to impress the execs. What he didn't know was that they'd been watching. Listening. Waiting for someone with real results, not just loud confidence. And that someone was me. The rest of the office buzzed as usual, but she stood frozen, her smile gone, her energy deflated. I could see her calculating in her head, trying to figure out how this happened, how I got here. She never imagined I'd be more than the safe option, the guy who stayed in the background. Now, I was the one holding the keys to the future she once pictured for herself. And I could tell, reality was finally starting to hit. But this story was far from over. By lunchtime, word had spread through the office. Whispers followed me down the hall, questions, sideways glances, a few congratulatory smiles from those who'd seen my late nights and quiet grind. But from her desk just outside my office, there was only silence. She hadn't said a word. Not to me. Not to Nick. I caught her once, staring through the glass wall, her expression a mix of regret and panic. That's when the real tension began. Nick wasn't taking it well. He had expected a promotion, and instead, found himself reporting to the guy his girlfriend had just dumped. His ego didn't like that. During our first team meeting, I could see the shift in his tone, fake enthusiasm laced with frustration. He couldn't look me in the eye for long. And she? She kept her head down, barely spoke, like she was shrinking into the background she once thought I belonged in. But behind the scenes, something else was brewing. HR had scheduled a performance review for Nick, a review I now had to lead. The same guy who used to smirk at me during lunch breaks, who used to brag about being management material, would now sit across from me in a closed room, under official scrutiny. I didn't plan to embarrass him. I just planned to be honest. The numbers didn't lie. Then there was her sudden change in behavior. The same woman who once dismissed my goals as too safe was now lingering near my office, offering to help with extra work, trying to reconnect in small, awkward ways. But I hadn't forgotten her words. I need an alpha. And it seemed now, she realized, the alpha was never about noise or muscles. It was about character. Something she never truly saw, until now. The tension hit its peak when the department was assigned a high-stakes project, one that could shape the future of our company. I was leading it, and both Nick and my ex were on the team. It wasn't personal. It was logistics. They were part of the department, and I wasn't about to let personal history get in the way of professional responsibility. But that didn't mean things weren't uncomfortable. Every meeting felt like a silent battlefield. Every decision I made was watched, judged, and twisted behind closed doors. Nick, desperate to prove himself, started overstepping. He challenged my calls during presentations, questioned my strategies in front of others, even tried to undermine me by suggesting his own ideas to upper management behind my back. It was obvious he couldn't handle the power shift. He thought this was still a competition. But what he didn't understand was that I wasn't playing games anymore. I was focused on results. The company was watching, and they trusted me for a reason. Meanwhile, my ex had become more visibly anxious. She started staying late, offering input on reports she wasn't assigned to, casually bringing me coffee like old times. It was subtle, but I could feel the shift. She was trying to ease her way back into my space, both professionally and personally. But I hadn't forgotten the look on her face the days she walked away. The way she left me behind like a stepping stone. Then came the day before the final project presentation. Nick stormed into my office, red-faced, slamming a folder on my desk. "This isn't over," he hissed. And I knew something was coming. Something big. The pressure was boiling over. And the next 24 hours would change everything, for all of us. The next morning, just hours before our final project pitch, I got an unexpected email from upper management. The subject line made my stomach tighten: urgent, review of submitted financials. I opened it and found a flagged discrepancy in the budget spreadsheet, the same one Nick had volunteered to handle weeks ago. It wasn't a small mistake, it was massive. Numbers had been inflated, projections didn't match actual reports, and if presented as is, it could tank the entire project, and possibly my credibility. At first, I thought it was carelessness. But as I dug deeper, I realized something more troubling. The file had been modified after I signed off. And the version saved in the shared drive wasn't the original, it was altered. Deliberately. Someone had tried to sabotage the presentation. And every trail pointed to one name: Nick. It made sense now: his anger, his last words in my office, his growing insecurity. But what hit even harder was realizing he hadn't acted alone. One of the timestamps showed the document was accessed using her login credentials. My ex. The same woman who had been cozying up these past few weeks. The same woman who brought coffee and offered help when no one asked for it. I sat there, staring at the screen, stunned. It wasn't just about a breakup anymore. It was betrayal layered on top of betrayal. Professional sabotage. Personal manipulation. They hadn't just underestimated me, they tried to destroy me. And if I didn't act fast, everything I had built could fall apart in front of the entire executive board. The meeting was in less than 2 hours. And I had a choice to make. Expose them now, or wait until the spotlight was brightest. Either way, I knew one thing: this wasn't going to end quietly. The conference room was packed: executives, team leads, even a few board members. Everyone was waiting for the big pitch. I walked in calmly, carrying 2 folders. One held the polished project presentation. The other, the evidence. I looked around the room, my eyes briefly locking with Nick's. He was trying hard to fake confidence, but there was a flicker of nervousness in his posture. My ex sat beside him, eyes down, pretending to review notes. I could feel the weight of their silence. I began the presentation as planned, walking them through the strategy, the forecasts, the implementation roadmap. Everything was smooth, until I reached the financials. That's when I paused, looked up, and said, "Before I continue, there's something the board should see." I handed the second folder to the COO, and silence filled the room as she flipped through the printed logs, time stamps, and altered spreadsheets. Whispers broke out. The tension cracked. Then I calmly explained how the financial data had been deliberately altered after approval, and how it could have derailed the entire project. I didn't name names. I didn't have to. The evidence spoke for itself. And just as I closed the presentation, the COO looked at Nick and asked, "Would you like to explain why these edits were made under your profile?" Nick's face drained of color. My ex reached for his arm, but he pulled away. The room went still. Security was called in to escort Nick out. He didn't even look at me. But just when I thought it was over, my ex stood up, trembling, and blurted out, "It wasn't just him. I helped." That confession? Completely unexpected. And that was when I realized she wasn't trying to win me back. She was trying to take me down with him. There was a long, heavy silence after her confession. The kind that made the air feel thick. The COO leaned back in her chair, visibly disappointed. "We'll be reviewing both of your roles immediately," she said firmly. HR stepped in moments later. I didn't say a word. I just watched as the two of them, once so smug and confident, walked out of the room, no longer untouchable. Their ambition had turned into their undoing. Over the next few days, the company launched an internal investigation. The evidence was overwhelming. Nick was terminated for misconduct, and my ex, despite her last-minute confession, was let go for her involvement. Some might think I'd feel satisfied, maybe even vindicated. But to be honest, I just felt clear. Not angry. Not bitter. Just done. The project moved forward without delays, and the board gave it their full approval. It ended up being one of the most successful launches of the year. I earned more than just a title. I earned trust, respect, and most importantly, peace. Looking back, I realized the real win wasn't getting the corner office. It wasn't exposing them either. It was learning that quiet strength doesn't need to prove itself to anyone. The people who truly value you will see your worth long before a title is printed on your door. Sometimes, when you're underestimated, it's a blessing. You get to rise without noise, without distraction. And when the moment comes, you don't just surprise them. You remind yourself of who you really are. Because being an alpha isn't about power or control. It's about integrity, growth, and standing tall, even when others try to tear you down. And in the end, that's exactly what I did.